Hey guys, coming at you today with a recipe experiment on my protein sparing modified fast bread that I created using yeast, making a beautiful, soft, fluffy, low carb white bread loaf. I've been meaning to do some experimenting on it, so today we're gonna do one of those. So let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, thanks for joining me. My name's Alycia and I'm a pastry chef with a sweet tooth. And I'm here to show you all the tips and tricks on how to make the best keto recipes possible. So if you enjoy my recipes, please hit the subscribe button down there, give the video a thumbs up, let me know in the comments what you think. It all helps my channel grow and to bring you new keto recipes every Saturday. Today, one of many experiments that I'm gonna do on this bread, because when I first figured it out, it was actually pretty easy. Like the second test worked perfectly. So I didn't do a lot of swaps of different kinds of ingredients to see if they worked. And I get a lot of questions on different things for the bread, if they can swap out this for that, if you've tried this, if I've tried that. I haven't tried a lot because right after I put that video out, I got married, I got pregnant, I started my own business. It got crazy. So I haven't even been able to revisit this bread because I sell a lot of it for my bakery and I don't want to mess with it and not have product to sell. So today we're going to do one of many experiments. The one ingredient that you really need in the bread is psyllium husk fiber. So it is a fiber, so I never experimented with any other fibers. Right now, if you haven't heard about it, I'm surprised because everybody is talking about bamboo fiber. And I don't know if all fibers are created equal, if this will work for the reason I needed it in my original bread. Because I tried the recipe without psyllium husk. I did try to minus ingredients from my original recipe before I put the video out, but I found you needed all the ingredients I had in there. And one was the psyllium husk because it keeps the allulose from leaking out of the bread. And when that happens, you get a really hard, rubbery bottom on the bottom of the loaf. So you need the fiber in there. So I'm gonna see if I can swap out the fibers and if it works or not. Now the thing is, I only use 10 grams of psyllium husk, which is 2 tablespoons. So I'm not sure exactly how much I'm gonna need of this to get the same result, if I even do get the same result. So as we'll start with 10 grams, which is my original recipe, and just see if it works. I did figure out that you don't need to put the psyllium husk in the water first, so you just put it in with the dry ingredients. So I'm going to start with getting my water, yeast, and inulin blooming in my bowl, and then I'll measure out all my dry ingredients, get it whipping, get it proofing, and get it baking. I always weigh all my ingredients because it just keeps it super consistent with all my batches, especially with all our ingredients in this are super light and fluffy and really hard to measure with like tablespoons and cups and stuff. And even the water, I went off of a recipe back 2 years ago that it was 292 grams. I believe it's about a cup and a quarter that is between 100 degrees and 110 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm not going to go into super great detail. I'll be linking throughout here. I have 3 videos on this. My original, which I had COVID, so my brain fog was crazy. My redo recipe that I explained every single ingredient, steps, and everything more clearly. And I have a frequently asked questions. So those will all be linked throughout here and in the description box below. I keep my yeast in the freezer now because I realized that yeast can go bad if you don't use it fast enough. And I buy a lot at a time, so I don't usually use any kind of measuring spoons. I just do 9 grams or 2 1/4 teaspoons. I use inulin to bloom the yeast. It's the only keto kind of sweetener that you can use, but you can easily use 2 teaspoons of sugar or honey. People say it all gets eaten by the yeast. I have no way of proving that. So we just give that a whisk in there and let that bloom while we get our dry ingredients ready. I already weighed out 60 grams of allulose. You can use anywhere from 20 grams to 120 grams, but the more you use, the sweeter it's gonna be. I found 60 was like perfect to get brown, but not too sweet and nice and soft. The more allulose you use, the softer a loaf will be also, but it'll also brown quicker. So to that, I'm gonna add 10 grams of bamboo fiber instead of the whole psyllium husk. Normally that's 2 tablespoons. I'm gonna see what it is. So 1 tablespoon was 4 grams. It all depends on how you pack it too. If you pack it down a lot, it might be a little bit more. So if that's the case, 4, so another half tablespoon. Okay, that's 10 grams. So 2.5 tablespoons of bamboo fiber. I know people have messed with the amount of cream of tartar. More cream of tartar, they say a little bit sour of a taste. More like a sourdough taste. A half teaspoon of each. I haven't messed with it any, but I know I'll link Indigo Nilly's page down below. She has done tons of experiments on this bread. Half teaspoon of salt. And then 100 grams of an egg white protein. You can't use all fresh. There are some recipes out there that use some fresh, some powdered. You cannot use just all fresh. I tried that and my loaf went and just collapsed on itself. So completely throw away. There's also, Indigo Nilly has done a condensed egg white bread where she takes some egg white and takes out the amount of moisture needed in order to make this bread work. So you can go check out her channel. I even tried to make my own egg white powder. Not worth it for price wise. I know this stuff is expensive, but it's a lot of egg whites. I did it and it was not worth it. I still have 2 gallons of egg whites in my freezer that I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with, because I tried doing my own and it just wasn't cost effective enough. I've also found in all my time trying to perfect my egg white bread, because even me, I didn't always have a perfect egg white bread come out because of ingredients being different and because of my mixers being different. So I have found out that like now protein powder doesn't whip as high as some other ones, and they all whip up at a different rate, and some whip up more than others. The tip I give is to watch it after about 6 minutes. If it keeps rising, keep whipping. If it stops rising, stop whipping, because if you over whip or under whip, you can get a deflated loaf after it comes out of the oven. This just has another minute on it, I think. Hopefully it wasn't too hot. I clocked it at 110 exactly. It's 95 now. A lot of times I'll put this in a warm place because our keto sweeteners and keto ingredients always kind of need a little bit of help to do what a regular like sugar would do. So a lot of times I put this in a warm place, either on my oven or in my proofer or something like that, and that helps get the yeast bloomed in there. So we're just going to give this a couple of minutes and then we'll get to whipping. I just threw it in my proofer for a little bit to get warmed up. To proof my bread, I found the best and easiest way is a dehydrator, not a proofer, sorry. A proofer doesn't normally go as high as we need for our keto ingredients to get the rise. I found 105 is like the perfect temperature to get it to rise in a timely manner. In the original video, I put it on top of my stovetop with the hot air blowing on it from heating my oven. Some people don't have stovetops. They have, you know, ovens that are built into the wall and stuff like that. That was the case when I had my own bakery. They were just standalone ovens, so I couldn't figure out a way to proof my bread. I tried a lot of different ways, and the most effective way I found was a dehydrator, because you can set it to the lowest temperature of 105 and it works perfectly. You can also use like a lot of like Ninja ovens and stuff like that, like countertop ovens have a proof setting or a dehydration setting where you can set the temperature to real low. That could work also. Some people with electric ovens and gas ovens, some have a light in their oven that warms it up enough to proof bread. I haven't found that to be the case with my ovens. There's a lot of different options, but you definitely need something warmer than a normal proof. Like a normal proof is around 80 degrees. You definitely need like around 100 degrees. These are the pans I use all the time. I bake 5 or 6 loaves at a time, so I just wipe them out, and I always parchment them just because mine are starting to get worn, and where it gets worn, they sometimes stick and they also get a little bit too dark. So I always parchment my loaf pans. If you don't have one that you're using, like I've probably done over 100 loaves in this pan now. then you don't have to parchment. You can just spray it. I always like to parchment just for insurance policies, even when I bake upstairs, just in case. I have one strip left from the last batch I made because I always have extra. So I do a little spray. I don't want a lot of excess because the air blowing in my dehydrator will get on top of the loaf and make that part not skin over, which you want in your loaf. We'll spray there. So I have these big sheets. You can buy this size, like a half sheet, Reynolds parchment. And for 3 loaves, I do this into thirds for the long strip in the bottom. And then for the halves, I do just a little bit less than half of the sheet. So about there. Try to find the best way to do this to minimize waste and be as quick as possible. Because in the bakery, time is money. You need to get stuff done as fast as possible to make your profit as much as possible. And this recipe takes a long time because you have the hour to proof it. So try to be as speedy as I can with the mixing process and everything. And while it's proofing or while it's mixing is when I'm getting the pans done, and I'm usually getting another recipe done at the same time because it takes a while to mix too. So that pan is ready to go. Our yeast should be ready to go too. You want to see that fermenting in the middle there. That's what you want. Let's see how this mixes in. With the psyllium husk, there's no problem mixing this all in. I don't know how the bamboo fiber does when it hits water. If it's gonna need an extra mix. I just started doing this. You don't have to do this, but I find it's easier and you won't get as much stuck on the edge of your bowl if you just dump it and go with the big whisk right away. Okay, we're gonna put that in the mixer and it could whip anywhere from 5 minutes to 15. If you're using a hand mixer, it could take 30 minutes. My big mixer, I have to do it low because the high is too powerful. It deflates it. So I have to do that for 40 minutes for a 6 times batch. I'll meet you back here when it is to the right stiffness. Okay, so that was 2 minutes on 7, 1 minute on 8, and 10 minutes on the highest setting on my KitchenAid mixer. While it was whipping, I was concentrating on a couple different spots on the mixer, and when I saw that it wasn't rising anymore is when I turned off the mixer. There's one more ingredient we need, and that is some kind of fat. I use heavy cream powder. I feel like you can use any fat. Egg yolk powder is a very popular one, butter powder, stuff like that. We need 24 grams, which should be 4 tablespoons. I'm just gonna weigh it out. Someone else in my comments said that you don't need anything else but bamboo fiber. It makes a super soft loaf. I'm not gonna do that today because I'm testing one thing at a time, but if this does work, I might go and try and add more instead of the heavy cream powder or the Allulose, something like that. We'll see what happens. So I'm gonna add the heavy cream powder and only mix it a little bit and then finish mixing the rest by hand. If you over whipped or under whipped, at this point, your egg whites will probably deflate a lot once you add in the heavy cream powder. But mine are still pretty stiff. I didn't over or under beat it, and I didn't whip it too much with the heavy cream powder. So I'm just gonna fold in the rest of the heavy cream powder. Some egg whites will be even stiffer than this. Like if you watch my hamburger bun recipe, you'll see that it is super stiff because it was a different egg white protein powder that whips up even stiffer than this. So you want to make sure you get it all down in the edges, especially if you're using a different egg white that is even thicker than this. I didn't put it on the scale for any particular reason, but I didn't even zero it out. I don't know why my scale was there from the heavy cream powder. Like, I don't even know why that scale's there. So you want to smooth this out really good. And this is the biggest pan I own. I believe they're 9 1/4 by 5 1/4. I'll have them linked below. I'll give it a little tap just to settle any of the egg white, just in case. I'm gonna put this in my dehydrator at 105. 30 minutes, I turn it and do another 30 minutes, and then we'll get it in the oven. Hopefully this is edible, because I would love a loaf of my egg white bread. Unfortunately, we won't know if this works until it's completely baked and cooled, because you can't tell that the allulose weeps into the bottom of the pan until it's out of the oven and we take it out. Okay, it's been proofing for an hour. We'll see if this bakes up good. Give it a score down the middle. Your oven, you preheat to 325 unless you have a really high-powered oven. Like mine, I do 300 because I have an American gas range that's more like industrial. So I'm doing 300 for 34 minutes. You want to bake it 325 between 30 and 34 minutes also. So I'm going to throw this in and I'll turn it halfway through and then get it out and see what happens. Looks about the same. Okay, that was 34 minutes and it looks done. So I'm going to set it aside, let the pan at least cool to the touch. We'll be back when we gotta turn this out and see what the bottom looks like. It's been about 10 minutes or so. Because my pans are a little bit older, they do stick to the edge sometimes. It only shrank a little bit like it normally does, so that's good. Good sign. I feel like it is a little bit darker than it normally is when I do it at 300 for 34 minutes. But I think the browning and everything also has to do with how much you get it whipped up, because I've had loaves bigger than this that don't brown as much. So that moisture makes me worried because allulose creates moisture. Doesn't seem too rubbery on the bottom. Oh, see? That right there. So this right here is the allulose leaking out of the bread. So I have a feeling the bottom is going to be a little bit rubbery. But that's usually along the whole bottom. So maybe it worked, but you need a little bit more bamboo fiber instead of the psyllium husk, because it did leak a little bit. Well, we're going to let this cool for a little bit and we're going to slice it and give it a try. Okay, it is pretty cool to the touch, about room temperature. So I'm going to slice this. I usually get 16 to 18 slices. I like my slices nice and thin. You can tell that the bottom is a little bit harder because the knife needs to really be dragged through. Like, this is kind of bendy. This is a little bit more rubbery, but otherwise it squishes down, which is good. If you ever tried the original protein sparing bread, it just bounces right back. So there are no flecks because there's no psyllium husk in it, so that's kind of nice. It's pretty soft and fluffy though. Let's try it. Yeah. Ugh. The bottom is really tough. You can kind of see it. There's like a rubbery bit there that's not there. Yeah. Oh, I guess I'm gonna be slicing the bottom off that to eat it. You can use it still. It still tastes delicious, but you gotta cut the bottom off. That's a bummer. But we didn't have as much of a leakage as when I completely forgot the psyllium husk once. That was bad. Like, it was so hard and rubbery. So I'm wondering if we just have to up the bamboo fiber a little bit. I should really go get a slice of my bread that I made. It's upstairs. I think I'm gonna do that. Okay, I brought it to kind of room temperature in the oven so you can see like the same. It's been in my refrigerator and freezer off and on for a while because I don't eat bread very often, but the whole structure seems different. And the bottom is a lot softer. Let's see. It's like hard rubber. This isn't even as squishy as it normally is either. This is dried out a little bit from being in and out of the freezer and in the fridge. So it's not an exact comparison. There's more batter in this loaf because my customers are used to having bigger loaves than this. So I have to do like 1 1/6 batch in each pan. So that's why this is so much bigger. It's definitely better fresh. It tastes pretty much the same, I think. Just that bottom crust is so bad. See, I couldn't even like cut through this. It kind of skipped. So I think it works to a degree, but I think we might need to add more bamboo fiber to replace the psyllium husk, which I was wondering if I was going to have to, because psyllium husk just soaks up so much liquid, and that's why I used it in the recipe, was because I knew it soaked up a lot of the liquid and like stabilized things. So I'm wondering if I like double it maybe. Let me know in the comments below if you have tried this, if you have had success with different fibers. I've been asked about acacia fiber and a couple other fibers. I might try this again with more bamboo fiber. If I do, I'll probably shoot a video, but I also want to try the acacia fiber, which I don't actually own any. I'd have to order some. So I don't know, that's the test. I guess I'm going to be eating this, but I'm going to have to cut this whole section off. It'll still be edible. It's definitely nice and soft still, which is good. So the texture inside didn't change too much with using bamboo fiber instead of the whole psyllium husk. I hope you guys enjoyed this type of video. Please let me know in the comments below, and by giving it a big thumbs up, it really helps the channel. It gets my videos shown to more people. The more thumbs up I get, the more comments, interactions, stuff like that. Share your favorite recipes of mine with friends, family, on your Facebook, Instagram, all that jazz. Don't forget to check out the links in the description box for products I used here, and for the blog links and videos to my other egg white bread videos. Don't forget to subscribe, and as always, I'll be back with more keto videos. Bye guys. Happy keto baking.